My name is Sandra Merritt. I am in educational leadership for Dr. Crosby's class, and this is my Chapter 3 for question assignment. I have to apologize for my voice. So after each synopsis, I figured I would hold up the notes that I'm using to answer the questions in case you miss something because you can't understand what I'm saying. So question 1 is specifically about educational leadership dispositions. The 4 words that I would hope that colleagues would describe me are confident, reliable, a lifelong learner, and passionate. So the first one is confidence. I don't feel like you can be an educational leader unless you are confident in what you're doing. Leaders who lack confidence have people who don't feel comfortable following what they're asking them to do. If you don't have confidence, people will not follow your lead. So I hope that people would describe me as confident so they would be able to follow my leadership. The second word is reliable. So I've worked for leaders who were not reliable, and it's very difficult for you to follow someone who is unreliable. So you have to be able to trust that your leaders will take pieces of the work and do them as well. Or when you have a task and you have to divide it among people, as you have to do in education because the workload is so immense. You have to be able to rely on those around you. And so for that reason, I want people to know that when they're on a team with me, that they can rely on me and they don't have to wonder whether I'm going to get something done or not. If I say I'm going to do it, then I definitely will. Third is a lifelong learner. I feel like in education, things change so rapidly. This is my 24th year in education, and it's just like night and day as far as what education looked like when I first started versus what it is now. It's definitely gotten more challenging. The roles have gotten tougher. However, because I've always been a lifelong learner and willing to learn and grow, the change in education has not been super difficult for me, because when a new program or a new technique or new best practices come out, I'm very willing to go learn it and put those in practice, because I feel like once you stop learning, you become stagnant and ineffective. The next word that I will use is passionate. I feel like no matter how long you've been in education and no matter what type of leader you are, you have to be passionate about what you're doing. If you're not passionate, if you don't bring passion with you to what you are doing, then you're just kind of going through the motions. You can become ineffective. You can become stagnant in your role. You have to, and as a leader, you really have to get the climate and culture at the forefront and keep it at the forefront. And without the passion for your job, it's you're not going to be effective in the role of leader at a school building. You have to bring people together and have them willing to work together. And the way you do that is to show everybody that you are very passionate about what you do and you're willing to do what you're asking others to do. So here's my note page for question number 1. Question number 2 was, if I had to come up with a metaphor that would describe my role in what I do, what would it be? I feel like as a teacher, I don't know that my metaphor would be the same as it is now. But now, because my role is MTSS specialist, and I coordinate so many things, that my metaphor would be Atlas, like the Greek god Atlas holding up the world. I feel like my role is constantly lifting everybody else's department up, because I bring all departments together for the good or the betterment of the whole child. So if I'm working with a student's caseload and that particular student needs services such as physical therapy or visual impairment or speech therapy, counseling, mental health clinician, if they need extra tutoring, then I coordinate all those services. I coordinate with the 504 coordinator, with the school counselors, with teachers, with parents, with the students themselves, in order to address academic and behavioral goals. I create goals with the team, and then I keep everybody focused on reaching those goals. Then we come together with the progress monitoring data, and sometimes have to shift those goals if we're not moving in the right direction in order to serve the whole child. Sometimes I bring community partners in to help students when, say, they're experiencing homelessness, food insecurity, housing insecurity. So I feel like Atlas is a good metaphor, because I feel like I'm constantly holding the other departments up and balancing all of the departments together to work as a team in order to serve the whole child. Number 3 was the importance of emphasizing metacognition skills. So, in order to really understand your impact on adult learners, you cannot understand if you're effective or not without developing your metacognitive skills. If you are not self-reflective and you can't read a room, then you don't know if what you're doing is actually helping everyone understand how to help or how to become better. So, for example, one of my roles is to teach teachers how to deliver interventions for students, and let's say an academic intervention specifically. So if you are teaching a professional learning on small groups and what small groups should look like and what they entail, and you notice that the adult learners around you have started focusing on other things, then it may be time to do a hands-on activity, or it may be time to shift what you're saying or how you're delivering your PL. Because if your audience is unfocused, then they don't understand. They're not understanding what you're asking of them, and they can't do it. So you have to be able to, I guess, like read the room. That's how I kind of understand metacognitive skills. I'm so sorry. And if you're learning and growing, it really doesn't matter that much if you're not growing those around you. In other words, you can go to as many trainings as you possibly can. If you're not able to teach others the knowledge that you have gained from your learning, then you're not an effective leader. Number 4 is the different. Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot to hold up my note card. Number 4 are the roles of the different generations in collaborative group settings. So I myself am a Generation X. I guess technically there's a like a micro generation of Generation X that they call Zennials. And I fall within that category. And the only real difference between a Generation X and a Zennial is they consider Zennials more tech savvy than Generation Xers. Just because we were born in the later part of that generation and we grew up using computers and technology. So one of the most effective things that I think I've noticed in working with collaborative groups with baby boomers is that they are very easy to work with. They share their knowledge. They are very knowledgeable because of their experience, and they're so willing to share their knowledge. They're also rule followers, and they help with customer service. So they sometimes have to remind people in my generation that there is a time and place for independence and adaptability, but there are also times where following rules is very important in order to get the job done. And I think a good balance of reminding us, especially Gen Xers that don't particularly conform to rules all the time and certainly don't appreciate them all the time, we need to be reminded that sometimes rules are very necessary in the grand scheme of things. Also, that wealth of knowledge and experience that comes with working with a group from a baby boomer perspective is always helpful, especially if you are like me, a Gen Xer who is a lifelong learner. We're going to respect the knowledge and the skills that people come to the table with. A couple of pros for Gen Y or millennials. One thing is I like their optimism and enthusiasm for the profession. So I think sometimes Gen Xers and to an extent baby boomers can get complacent and not really apathetic, but kind of in a routine, whereas millennials typically come with a natural optimism for the profession, for learning, for doing the job, and they keep us motivated and excited in collaborative groups because they keep the energy at a higher level. I think without them, some collaborative groups would definitely become stagnant. Also, just as Gen X has to rely on baby boomers for customer service and being, mindful of others' thoughts and feelings, millennials are also goal-oriented. And I think sometimes Gen Xers lose that goal-orientated focus simply because we just want to get it done and checked off a list, whereas millennials are better at setting goals. I'm sure it had to be a millennial that introduced SMART goals to the education community and said, hey, we'd be better off doing this and measuring our goals in a SMART goal plan. It is a very effective, good plan, and that I don't know that Gen Xers would follow without the help of millennials. So in turn, we have to, Gen Xers have to really heavily lean on baby boomers for knowledge, experience, expertise, their goals for customer service, and reminding us to be more tactful, because that's one downside about Gen Xers. We're not always very tactful about how we say things and how we present things. And we have to rely also on millennials for their optimism, for keeping that momentum going, and for goal-oriented focus. And here's my note sheet for that. And once again, I apologize for the difficulty that I'm sure you're having following me. I hope that the notes help you. And if they don't, if you just reach out through email, I'll be glad to type it up if you need me to.